we are here to chat about Outbound and the integration that we have with Counterpoint. We've been excited to partner with Outbound for the last 20 years. They've been a trusted provider of Counterpoint, integrated ticketing and admission solutions for our clients. They deliver tools that streamline operations and enhance the customer experience. Plus, they are a joy to work with. Today we have, from Outbound, we have Barbara Case, the Director of Customer and Partner Success. Barbara has a great story where she, previously to working at Outbound, she worked at a museum where they used Counterpoint and Outbound. And in my mind, she loved it so much that she just jumped ship and went over to work for Outbound and has been there for 12 years. So she is a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge, and loves to, help customers bring their dreams come true, essentially. And then we are also excited to have Nick Wilson on the webinar today. Nick Wilson is the Commerce Systems Technical Specialist, which is a mouthful, Nick. I don't know how you say that all the time, from the Corning Museum of Glass. He has over 20 years of experience in commerce support and in my mind is a super user of Counterpoint and Outbound. So we are lucky to have him here to provide some, some first experience takes on using both systems and how they integrate, and here to answer any questions. So thank you both for being here. And without further ado, I'm going to toss it over to Barbara for a demo of Outbound.
Wonderful. Jill, thank you so much, and for the warm introduction, and you have my story right. So thank you for that. It's a pleasure to be here and to see folks that are in attendance, both current customers and those that are new to me. So welcome. I am going to start by sharing my screen. So I'm going to share a number of things with you all today, but as Jill suggested, we're welcoming questions at the end of the session today, but also, sometimes things come to mind after the fact, and for those that may see the recording, and have questions as a result, certainly reach out to us. We welcome follow-ups anytime. So what I have up is an Outbound demo site, and on the left-hand side here, we refer to these as view groups. They're basically chapters that our customers create, and the purpose is any activities that are added to the site, any tours, events, admission, etc., things that need to have tickets sold or reservations made get added to the system and assigned to these various view groups. Our customers can have as many or as few as they need. It's just a way of organizing the content in your site and making it as user-friendly, if you will, for your online customers. This page itself is oftentimes bypassed. What you have is from your main website, links that bring the customer into the reservation process. So you can choose to bypass this page in order to, avoid any redundancies and keep any page that they hit as relevant and beneficial as possible. When we select one of these view groups, I'm going to use admission as an example. The structure within at the top is the same. You have a view group title, a description, and then the specials area can be used in whatever way is most beneficial, maybe highlighting holiday dates or a special event that's coming up, but the wording, the label, and the description can be however best utilized. That's followed by what we call a subgroup. This too can help further organize the content within the page. In this particular example, we're only using one subgroup, but I'll jump quickly to our events view group and show an example of using multiples and how they could be used. So for an event, here's your event activity with its description, and folks can go in and register. But then here we have a second subgroup highlighting that there are add-ons available for that event. So it's, again, ways of organizing the content to make it as user-friendly as possible for your online customers. Following the subgroup or subgroups are the relative activities. In this example, Outbound can support multiple different, multiple admission types. We have general admission where the customer does not need to select a date or time, and it forces current day booking, but then that ticket can be used for up to a year or whatever your policies are. Or you can have a style where you want to know what date the visitor is coming, but the time is not critical, so the time is bypassed. Or you can have true timed admission where they need to select a date and time. And then of course, you have your activity title, a description for each, an activity image. It can be, as you've seen here, you can use your logo or an image of choice to make it more appealing and attractive. And even the wording on this button, we call this the Book Now link, that launches the reservation process. Even the wording on the button is configurable. So instead of an admission activity that asks you to purchase, maybe for membership it says join or some such, whatever your preferences are. And so I'm going to show you real quickly what that reservation process looks like for the online customer. So I'm going to go ahead and book into timed admission. The border shows what I need to do first, which is to pick a date. It's up to you to set the schedule. It can be as limited or bountiful as you want it to be. You can, as you can see here, Mondays are blocked out because that's the day this particular museum is closed. So you have full control over the schedule. You can easily edit it on the fly. It's all at your fingertips. We work with you to set up these various activities and view groups, and then they're easily edited going forward and to add more content. Even though the text at the top of the page is configurable at will. Once I select a date from the calendar, the border then moves to what I need to do next, which is to pick a time. And it shows you too the availability remaining. You don't have to show this if it's an activity that really you never expect to surpass any limits, then maybe not the need to show this is not there. But for something that's more limited, I think it's a good setting to show. So when it gets down to just a few tickets, it kind of puts that urgency there for people to go ahead and scoop those up while they have the opportunity. So once we pick our time, the border changes yet again. And now I have to pick my tickets. We call these person types. You can have as many or as few as you need, label them whatever you need to, obviously assign whatever cost is applicable. For the member type, if I select that today, I'm going to get prompted to log into the system. The system will then check to see if this is a member or not, and that validate whether the membership is current. And if so, I can proceed. If not, I have two options. I can change my selection to a non-member ticket type, or I could add a membership to my transaction here today, and I can get the member type ticket within the same transaction. If at the end of the reservation I try to get sneaky and remove the membership, I will get stopped. I can't get through with a member type without either a current membership or purchasing one today. And we check both. This is one area where we're in, to exemplify the integration with Counterpoint. We look in both Outbound and Counterpoint. Counterpoint is actually the hub of the customer records. So if a membership has been sold through Counterpoint, we will see that upon login. So that's one way in which we connect the systems. For today's example, I'm just going to go with a couple of adults. Here we have our policies. During the onboarding, we collect and set up your what we call global policies, those that apply to most of your activities. But then you have the ability on a per activity basis to have different policies. So you have full control over that. There's a lot of flexibility there. But if I don't check this box saying that I've read and accept the policies and I try to proceed, I'm going to get stopped and prompted to accept the policies, to confirm them. I may not have read them, but this says I did. And so I basically own that content. Once I check that, I can proceed. And now I have opportunity to review what I just selected. If I see that I made a mistake on either the date, the time, or the participant count, I can jump back to that page and make changes just by selecting these links. So here, if I decide, oh, mom's coming too, I'm going to go ahead and put in another ticket. It'll keep my policies checked because I already accepted. And so now I have a count of 3 and it upped the cost of it. It's at this point when you reach the basket, if I wanted to, I could then return to any of these view groups and add additional purchases or reservations to my to this session. If not, I'm going to go ahead and proceed to checkout. And on this page, again, the text at the top is configurable. And don't let this, be frightening. This is just an example of, basically the maximum number of fields you could use. Most customers pare this way back, and we do the setup of this page for you with your input. You have choice as to what fields are visible, how these fields are labeled over here on the left, and which are set as requiring an entry, as you can see by those that are highlighted, and they also have an asterisk. So a lot of these will be taken out. Too many phone fields, hardly anyone uses fax. If you use this here about field, this is a marketing tool. We would update this list to whatever your typical advertising sources are. And then you can track that to see how people found out about you. One thing with Outbound is we do prevent duplicate profiles from being created in the system. We do that by looking at the primary email address. So a customer cannot have more than one profile in the system using the same primary email. So if I were to go, I'm a returning customer. So if I were to fill out all this data using an email that I've used before, I'm actually going to get prompted to log in. Since I know that, I'm going to go ahead and log in instead of doing all that and getting that message. Okay, so that will auto-load my profile. So, it spares me all of that typing as long as I got my password right. And if I wanted to at this point, if there's anything here within the profile that I want to update, I certainly can do so. And at the point in which, down at the bottom, when I click next, and not only will update with those changes here, but also simultaneously in Counterpoint. This billing page is actually looking at Counterpoint. So that makes those updates very efficient and keeps those profiles current in both systems. I'm not going to make any changes to that data. But you can see here too, we also have a promo feature. So if there was a promotion applicable to this activity, then I could enter that code and click apply, and it would take that discount. And when we proceed, now I have an opportunity to review everything we've done up to this step. So I can review my profile. If I see something I need to change, I can use the corresponding edit link. This is the last credit card I used for a prior reservation. We just have a token that's visible. The full credit card details are not stored in the system. Currently, they're stored by WorldPay, and they leave us with this token showing what kind of card, the last four, and the expiration month and year. If I wanted to use a different card, I can use this edit link to do so and use a different card instead. And then here we're again seeing the date, time, and quantity of what I've selected, and I still have that last opportunity to make any changes using the corresponding edit link. As you can see, we do support tax if that's applicable. And I'm happy with all of that data, so I'm going to go ahead and accept. My payment is taken at this time using that card on file. I'm brought to the thank you page. Shows my basic profile details here, reservation details, directions, what to bring. And these are what we call upsells. These are optional as to whether you want them displayed or not. You can highlight upcoming events, maybe a few items from the shop, but you don't have to have those on if they're not beneficial. What also took place at that time is a confirmation email is generated. So this is not very impressive. It just lets you know that you can have whatever content you need in this confirmation email. During the onboarding, we would set up your global message, the kind of confirmation you'd want to use for most of your activities, but also on a per activity basis, you can customize and use whatever message you need based on the type of activity. Attached here is the confirmation PDF. This serves as the customer receipt. Come on over. Whoop, sorry. And this has your company information at the top. We can also include a logo up here if preferred. Here's the basic profile information, a general introduction or thank you, and now the details of what I reserved for during this transaction. It shows a zero balance due because when reserving online, by default, you do have to pay with credit card in full. That said, on a per activity basis, you can choose to allow for a deposit only or no payment. Those are not very popular settings, but they're there if you need them. The payment history does a time date stamp of the transaction showing what kind of card I used and when. And then on page 2, we have the barcoded printed home tickets showing the date and time, what type of ticket. You can print and bring these in to check in upon arrival, or you could even bring these up on your mobile device and they can be scanned for check-in as well. These tickets can only be scanned once. If someone gets tricky and prints these off to give them to their friends, you know, multiple copies, then if this is scanned a second time, there will be a message that presents to the staff person that shows the time and date that it was originally scanned. So they cannot be reused. Okay, one other thing to mention about the activities is we also do have a wait list feature. So that's an optional feature. And that, of course, you know, for events that are somewhat limited and you want to use that, it's automated. So somebody during the reservation process, if there are no current spots open, they can put themselves on the wait list and they'll then receive notification if spots open up. And they have a small window based on how long you want them to be able to sit with that offer to either decline or to go ahead and book in and purchase those spots. Now I'm going to log in as an internal user and show you what an internal reservation looks like. When you log in as an internal user, you land on the activity console. You can think of this as your home page. One thing too, before I jump into the internal reservation process, is at any time if you need to see what's happening for any given reservation or tour type or event, you can come here to the master calendar and easily you can see by date what reservations have been made so far and the quantities. Of course, we also do have reporting that can provide that information to you anytime needed. We have what's called the report builder over here on the left. And with the report builder, this comes with a wealth of shared reports with all of these various categories. And when you open these, each category type has multiple reports to work with. And any of these can be, you can run to see what the reports look like. And if it's a report in favor, you can copy it and move it into one of your company folders. Once in your company folder, it's then editable in case you need to tweak it, either add a different data point or remove something. And 2, anything here in the report builder, you can use the scheduler. This little clock icon over here, these reports can be delivered to whomever needs the report at whatever frequency. And this is a demo site, so it's not showing quite as much, but there's a field for what reports are scheduled. Over here, it will show the next execution date. And if you use the little edit icon, you can easily come in, go to recipients, put somebody else on here to receive that report. Or if no longer needed, you can easily just use the red X to stop that delivery from continuing. All right, so here up on the upper left, we have what's called the reservation console. This is the method by which you would make an internal reservation. Say somebody calls up and needs to book in for some admission. So we'll repeat and use the same activity. Over here on the right, we're going to select the admission category, and we're going to do timed admission again. And we'll go in for 3 p.m. And as you saw on that button too, it does show the availability here as well. So you always know when those numbers are thinning. And I'll go with a couple of adult tickets again. And over on the left, I can actually open up these fields. And if I want, on a per participant basis, I could make an adjustment to the cost. Or collect names. You can set any activity if you need participant data. Or if you want to apply a discount to the entire reservation, I can just do it this way and add either a cost override or a discount, and that will be for as many participants as have been selected here. You can see both in the bottom left and the bottom right that no customer has been selected. So using this method, you can either up here at the top add a new customer, or you know I'm a returning customer, so you can go ahead and look that customer up. You have a number of search criteria here. I know this is the one because there's that email address that I know is for the current profile. And so now in the bottom left, you can see the customer name, and in the bottom right now, I'm able to pay and save this. So I'm going to do so, and I'm going to use point of sale because this person wants to pay when they arrive. This is yet another example of how we integrate with Counterpoint. If I wanted to email this confirmation, I can. And now I'm going to jump over into Counterpoint. This is one example of a Counterpoint touchscreen, and I'm going to use my reservation import. You have one that's for the current date, and there's my reservation. So what I'm going to do is, this is an Outbound app. So right now I'm still in Outbound, as you can see, but at the time that I import this reservation, it now is in Counterpoint, and now I can use whatever payment method has been set up in Counterpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and pay for this. I'm going to pay in cash, pay that ticket balance off, and now I can print a receipt or email or whatever you have set up on your Counterpoint side. And that's how easy it is to bring that reservation in and pay there. One other thing while we're here, we have a box office feature. This feature allows the folks at your Counterpoint point of sale stations to sell through Outbound without having to go into the back end of Outbound. So here we can do the same thing. We're here in the upper left, you can see we're booking into admissions. From the drop down in the upper right, we have those same admission types: general admission any date, or timed. I'll go ahead and do timed again. A couple of adults. If I want to do discounts, I can just as easily in this feature. And when I'm done in the bottom right, I go ahead and click process. And it's at that time, it now brings that sale into Counterpoint, and I can go ahead and pay with whatever methods are available. That is all I have for now. So I'm going to go ahead and hand over to Nick.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Nick Wilson, and I need to apologize in advance. My children decided to share a cold with me this week, so if I'm a little stuffy or sound under the weather, it's because I am. So I apologize. But I work at the Corning Museum of Glass. As Jill mentioned, my fancy job title is Commerce System Technical Specialist, which essentially just means any transaction that involves revenue or attendance, I have a role in, whether it's online, on-site. I help to support that. To give you some scope of our facility, we've been around for 73 years. The museum was established in 1951. We welcome over 300,000 visitors a year, which is down slightly from pre-COVID, but it's slowly coming back. We've been using Counterpoint for 26 years, which was in place when I came to the museum, and we've been using Outbound for about 17 years. Our retail space is 12,000 square foot. We have 11 registers running Counterpoint. We have another 16 registers in admissions that are running Counterpoint and Outbound that we sell tickets and make your own glass experiences and all kinds of things. And we're also using Counterpoint in our culinary area as well. So across the organization, we have 31 registers out on any given day, and then I have some mobile registers that I'll call out for special events or other functions. So as you can imagine, retail and ticketing are core revenue channels for the museum. And both have very unique needs and elements that need to be addressed. So Counterpoint's great at handling the retail functionality. It's not great at time ticketing. So anytime that there's a ticket that you're trying to sell in the future on a specific day at a specific time, it gets a little tricky. So that's where Outbound comes in and does a great job for us. Outbound helps to support four key areas: online sales for general admission to the museum, on-site and online ticketing for glassmaking, and group tickets, buses, school groups, and group ticket, and special events. Glassmaking is by far kind of our core business. Outbound helps us to manage and support. You can come on site, do a glassmaking activity. They're 40-minute lessons, hands-on. So those run 7 days a week, 361 days a year. So last year, there was over 66,000 individual activities that we sold through Outbound, some combination of on-site, online. On a typical busy day, Outbound will manage over 500 online transactions for us. And that doesn't include the transactions that are occurring on site. So that's just for mostly glassmaking, but also admission ticketing. So online customers will go to our reservation site, make a reservation. If a customer walks into the museum, this is where Counterpoint and Outbound kind of work together. We, as Barbara had mentioned, our staff will use Outbound to make a reservation and then import that reservation into Counterpoint, and we will collect payment in Counterpoint for those reservations that are on site. All tickets, whether they're purchased online or on site, we also print a ticket for. This printed ticket is more for our process at the studio as far as tracking objects and ensuring the guests get the object that they made. So we print a lot of tickets, but we can do all of that within our Counterpoint touchscreen. So as Barbara was showing in her demo, we can print tickets for online transactions and on-site transactions without having to flip back and forth necessarily between the two systems, which saves a lot of time. We also record all revenue and attendance in Counterpoint. So any transaction that generates revenue or any transaction that is headcount, we create a transaction in Counterpoint for that. That gives us a kind of a central database to do reporting from. So the majority of our reporting comes from Counterpoint. At least that's the way we elected to go. We do use Outbound for some detailed reporting around specific times, right? Counterpoint doesn't know how many people came at 2 o'clock. So if we're trying to get down to an hour level, we'll look Outbound for that. We also do all of our liability reporting out of Outbound. Both systems serve very specific purposes, but they work really well together. Since we're using Counterpoint across our facility, we can use one gift card. So we can have one gift card for food or make your own glass or admissions, which is really handy. We can use the same hardware across our facility. Since everyone's using Counterpoint, it's easy to cross-train across departments. So it's been a good fit using both systems, and they both interact so well together. The museum has many vendors, some good, some not so good, but I can't say enough about Retail Control Systems and Outbound. They've always been very responsive. The two companies work really well together. I've come to both asking a lot of crazy questions and things that we wanted to implement, and both companies have been very accommodating. So thank you very much.
Thanks for the kind words. Feeling is mutual. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say crazy request, Nick. I think you know, thinking outside the box sometimes, and we're happy to do that. I know Outbound is on the same page there.
All right.
Indeed, Jill.
If anyone has any questions, please fill out the Q&A or the chat. I had a couple questions, mostly for Barbara. So after you import the reservations into Counterpoint, can you make changes in Counterpoint? Like if they want to take a ticket off or anything, or is it pretty set once you import it?
Oh no, those are still editable anytime. You can go, it would have to be done obviously back in Outbound, but you can certainly make changes after the fact.
Okay, great. And then as far as the wait list goes, when you send an email to people, I assume when if they are off or can come off the wait list, and that email is editable?
The content in the email that goes out, absolutely. Yeah. So if somebody opts for that feature, we work with them on what they want, both the message to say alerting them that spots have opened. Well, first that alert them that they signed up for the wait list, and then the one that comes if and when spots open up. Those are all configurable.
Great.
As is the amount of time, like I mentioned, that the customer is allowed to sit with that, because you don't want those tickets to go unsold. So they may give them like 1 day or half a day even to respond. And if they don't, then those spots go either to the next person, or if there's no one left on the wait list, they'll just go back into the open availability.
Okay, great.
Good questions. I know that a common request or common question is, next steps here. Whoever's interested in learning more about Outbound can reach out to, for current RCS customers, reach out to your RCS account manager, and we would be happy to provide a quote and speak to you more, maybe even set up another follow-up call with Barbara. She's such a, again, wealth of information. So we are here to help. What I love about it is it enhances the functionality of Counterpoint, and really you can keep it as the source of truth, and keep everything organized, really rely on the rock solid reporting from Counterpoint, while adding in this great functionality and having it just work seamlessly together. So